So in this video, I want to talk about what's happening in Belgorod, just give you an update, because I talked about how, yes, 100% they're over the border. Now, yes, it looks like that is absolutely correct from all the open source data that I can find. And I only trade in open source data. I don't have any background information like special sources necessarily that are, and I only listen to those sources if I can confirm them and cite them with open source data. So I'm talking to Greg Terry last night, and he says, well, I'm hesitant to talk about Belgorod because I'm getting these mixed messages from different people. It's like, okay, that's fine. That's how he operates, where he's listening to folks. But here's what we're seeing open source. Russians are complaining that Ukrainian forces continue pressing further into Russia's Belgorod region. Belgorod direction, the enemy expands control zones. IMR widens the passage. Ours give a return. The situation is complicated. Okay, it's complicated. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. On March 18th, 2025, the Ukrainian Air Force struck a command post of one of the units, Russia's 3rd Motorized Rifle Division from the 20th Army of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. As a result of the attack, the command post was completely destroyed. I saw that in multiple places. I feel very comfortable with that. And so, yes. Here's some more. Now, this is a source that I have not ever used before, I believe, but they're saying Ukrainian forces have almost completely taken over the border village of Demidovka in Russia's Belgorod region. Now, these are these like little villages just barely over the border. And so it's not like they're running into Belgorod city proper or anything like that, but it's still an incursion. An incursion's an incursion. It's been reported that Zelensky's office has confirmed that there is now a military operation by Ukrainian forces in the Belgorod region, but this is also coming from a source that I've never seen before. And so now, he's followed by Jay and Kiev and others that I trust, but I'm just saying I would take that with a grain of salt, except for I know that there are other things happening simultaneously. So you're trying to like put a puzzle together and understand what's going on. And then we see this. This is a source that is usually trustworthy. Sources from the Cheka OGPU report that Russian armed forces have been put on full combat alert along the entire border in the Belgorod region. Reserves have been pulled into positions and ammunition has been delivered, even in places where there have never been any clashes. There is continuous shelling from MLRS from the Ukrainian side. The skies above the main roads are full of FPV drones. UAVs and the Ukrainian armed forces are constantly encountered in the rear. In fact, they control the roads on Russian territory. As a result, there are many losses in vehicles. At night, the Ukrainian armed forces made a number of successful forays beyond the state border. Small groups on ATVs landed from the village. And so apparently there is something going on, something significant, small but significant, that they are crossing the border. And if you want even more confirmation, even Sputnik is talking about how Ukrainians wanted to disrupt the Putin-Trump talks by a new meat grinder. Ukraine's forces tried to attack Russia's Belgorod region, but they got smashed. Don't believe us? We have a receipt. Okay, they're admitting that Ukraine's forces are trying to attack Russia's Belgorod region, even though they're saying they got smashed. This is how Russian forces destroyed 2 U.S.-made Bradley vehicles. And in the past 24 hours, Ukrainian armored vehicles, including this, have burned on the border. And here's a drone view of, okay, so yeah, so they're admitting it, even if they're trying to show how, awesome the Russians are and how destructive and masterful they are. Okay, so after the Kursk withdrawal, Ukraine launched a surprise offensive in Russia's Belgorod, according to Euromaidan Press. So clearly something is going on here. It doesn't look like it's going to be a huge operation or anything on the scale of Kursk, at least not yet, but that's what we know at this point. Meanwhile, as we predicted, Maria Zakharova put this out. Residents of the liberated communities in the Kursk region continue to testify regarding the war crimes and horrors of the Ukro-Nazi occupation. People were forced to bury their relatives and neighbors executed by the invaders right in their backyards. Of course, the Russians were treated fairly well when the Ukrainians were there. And then when the Ukrainians were pushed out, now we're hearing this, but is it made up? And there's probably a good deal to that it's made up. You don't see a lot of Ukrainian war crime kind of activity where you do see this with the Russians. All right, I'll leave you with this last little bit on this day in 1939, Nazi Germany, using the threat of armed force, annexed Klaipėda from Lithuania. I actually stood in the place in Klaipėda where Hitler gave a speech, and there was a square from this like balcony. He gives a speech. He actually had a statue turned around so its back wouldn't be placed, facing him. The statue had to face him. Despite 4 countries signing a treaty assuring Lithuanian territory, they chose appeasement, causing more demands from Hitler and eventually a terrible war. Imagine that happening today. This guy's like a prophet, this Darth Putin. Anyway, thank you, my friends. That's the update on Belgorod for today. Yes, something is happening. I can't tell you that there's a lot, but there is something there, and that's just a quick update. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.